Mid-Transformers 96 here with another video review. This time we have the Marvel Legends Infinite series from the Hulkbuster Build-A-Figure wave, the Hulkbuster Build-A-Figure. So yeah, so this is of course the Build-A-Figure for that wave that you will need to buy. Let's see here. The Marvel Now Iron Man, the movie War Machine, Blizzard, Doctor Strange, Vision, Valkyrie, as well as Thundra to complete. So yeah, so you'll need to buy 7 figures instead of the usual 6 to build this guy for obvious reasons that he is massive. This is one of, if not the best Build-A-Figure that I've got in recent years. This is the biggest Marvel Hasbro Build-A-Figure that Hasbro has ever done, actually. So at least I'm trying to think, and there hasn't been a larger one. Starting off, a couple years ago, we had we've gotten figures that are kind of bulkier, regular figures. We've had figures that are taller but skinnier. There was, of course, the terrible year where it was all small Build-A-Figures, and then we've gotten a couple big Build-A-Figures, but nothing like this. This is by far the biggest Build-A-Figure Marvel or Hasbro has ever done for a Marvel line. So very excited about this, and it is a big staple for them. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be a trend because the next Build-A-Figure is Rhino, which at the moment I am building, and he's not quite as tall as him, and this Hulkbuster is quite a bit slouched over, so you can see that he is definitely not even as tall at all, as well as not bulky, not as bulky as the Hulkbuster whatsoever. So yeah, overall, going over this figure, this was one that I was definitely highly anticipating because of how unique it was, and of course how large it was. Let's straighten it out here so you can get a grand look at the armor. Alright. So yeah, he is massive. Overall looking fantastic, though. I have to say the sculpt of this armor is wonderful. They really did nail the look of it from the movie, especially with the legs. The legs are pretty unique. They're quite bulky, especially right here, like this kind of calf area. Overall looks really nice. They did give it that great paneling, but allow it, the feet, although the feet are so wide, to maintain a great amount of articulation. That was, we had seen, of course, the Build-A-Figure, so you know kind of the size that you're going to get, and you know the paint, but the articulation is something that you don't quite know until you actually get it in hand, and the articulation is fantastic for a figure of this size and bulk. I'm incredibly impressed with how much articulation they were able to give this guy, even though he has proportions that would usually be quite hard to articulate, but they were able to do it, and able to do it quite skillfully to really maintain a lot of articulation. Going over the actual paint, the paint is pretty good. That's the only area where this figure isn't fantastic, I would have to say. The paint, it's a nice glossy red kind of throughout it. In some of the joints, it's more of a flat red. Overall, I like the red color a lot, though. It has silver and gold that are kind of very shiny throughout it, which I really like a lot. The only problem is I find that there is a lack of silver and gold. There's a fair amount of it, but there just needs to be more in the armor. In the movie, he has more small details with the silver and gold, so I would have definitely liked to see more silver and gold being used in it. As well as my other problem with the paint is that the gold kind of arm plating right here is a flat, just plain old gold paint, while of course it's much shinier and more metallic on the legs, and just everywhere else it's all this nice metallic gold, except on the arms here. The arms here are a flat gold, which is definitely disappointing and looks kind of strange having it be a different kind of shade of gold. And on the back here, the painting is quite limited. It's not as bad as Ultron, of course, the last Build-A-Figure, where there was no paint on the back. It was all a flat gray that was the paint of the plastic. Well, this one, of course, does have some good, it has some paint, where it has it, it's nice. And again, on the back here, it's done in that same flat gold, like the arms are done instead of the metallic gold, which would have been nice. They did paint the repulsor blast, which I actually really do like that. Just there needs to be a lot more paint going on here, especially we've got some repulsors there that need to be white, and a lot more gold and silver on the back. On the back, of course, isn't as important as the front, though, and the front does have a decent amount of paint, although could definitely do with some more. I did see a custom like a month ago that of somebody who had this Build-A-Figure who repainted it and made it just look spotless. It looked wonderful, so if anybody is willing to give this guy a repaint, it can definitely look great. But overall, Hasbro definitely didn't fail. They didn't do what they did with Ultron and really just screw up the paint completely. They did do a really decent amount of paint on this guy. The bulk is massive. It's something that, I had watched reviews and seen pictures of this guy a lot before I got it in person. And when I got it in person, it was so much bigger than I was expecting, even though I pretty much knew what I was going to get. So it is just one of those things that you kind of have to see in person to really get an appreciation of the bulk. Here he is with the last Build-A-Figure, or the Build-A-Figure before Ultron, which was Thanos. And Thanos was a pretty decent Build-A-Figure size. I mean, he was bulky, much bigger than your average figure. Here's an average figure. Actually, I'll give you a look at the figure in his wave. Here he is with a War Machine. So, as right here, when I'm looking into the camera, he looks quite big, but in person, he's just so much bigger. I think that it's just because, he's very tall, but he's got so much bulk, especially in the legs there. He's got such a nice size to him and just girth. He looks quite wonderful. And what, of course, with the articulation, you can really do a lot with him, which just enhances the figure completely. The only problem that I have on mine, and this is a problem that only I've found because I've never seen anybody else in reviews talk about it, is with the left shoulder. It seems very tight into his body for some reason. So when I turn it, it's incredibly loud. It's got this horrid squeak to it when you move it, which is definitely unfortunate. It doesn't seem to be a weak, or I'm not worried about it breaking. It just seems like it's in too tight. So it's getting some resistance when you turn it, and therefore it makes the kind of loud squeaking sound. So that is very annoying, but it doesn't seem to be anything that's bad about the figure. It does seem to just be something that is annoying, but actually won't break or anything. Overall, let's go over articulation. The head articulation is fantastic. It's on a ball hinge joint, so it can look down as well as look up. You got to move the hinge, and then you can move the ball joint, which is really great. You can look side to side, but still having his head level, which I think is just absolutely wonderful. Definitely so much better than I ever could have expected. They do the head being such a weird dome and kind of inset into the body that it is quite impressive that they were able to leave it with this amount of articulation. On the shoulders, he's got ball hinge, of course. He's got a bicep swivel, a hinge swivel at the elbow. The hinge doesn't move too much. That's really the only part of this that's a little bit disappointing. The hinge is just this much. You really don't need, and because this is Hulkbuster, he doesn't need to have any really dynamic poses with the elbows, being completely curled up or anything, so I don't mind that too much. He's got a hinge swivel at the elbow, at the wrist. It is quite a tough hinge, so you kind of have to do it with two hands, but you can kind of rotate it that much forward without being stopped by this. So overall, that's good. He's got a ball joint upper torso that's a really interesting joint. It's something that you really can't turn it side to side. It does seem to give you a lot of resistance when you're doing that. So you kind of have to rotate it in a circular motion to get it to go. It curls back quite far, as you can see, and it curls forward an incredible amount, which is really cool. And this, combined with the great articulation in the head, allows you to do some awesome poses where he is crouched forward but still having his head looking up, or really crouched back with having his head looking down. So overall, I really love the combination of this ab and neck joint. Those are the two best joints of the figure. He's got a ball jointed thigh there, which goes up quite a bit far, much further than you'd expect. A bicep swivel, a double hinge knee, which is really nice. As you can see, perfect curl there at the knee. Love that. And then the last joint, which is a fantastic one as well, is a hinge pivoting ankle. Overall, the ankle does pivot quite far. You can have him standing about this much with both of his feet flat on the floor, which is just fantastic, and something that I definitely didn't expect. I expected the rotation joint on this ankle to be really a lot more hindered than it actually is, and it's really actually just about not hindered in person, which is just fantastic, and really allows you to do some really amazing poses. Overall, this is definitely the best Build-A-Figure that I've received in years. I would say definitely since Hasbro started making Marvel Legends again. So you can compare it to Toy Biz's his Build-A-Figures, and possibly you'll get some that are, better than him. But for me personally, this is definitely one of my favorite figures that I've gotten in a long time. I'd be shocked if it doesn't make it in my top 10 favorite figures of the year. Ton of fun. It's got so much bulk, and yet it's maintained so much articulation. And it's heavy too, that's another thing. It's hollow in the chest, but the legs are really heavy. Like when you buy one of the figures that comes with the leg weighs so much more than the figure it comes with, and just really, I was shocked when I took the leg out of the package. I was like, man, this is going to be awesome, because it was so heavy, and it was just a leg, So overall, this is an absolutely fantastic figure. Would highly recommend it to anybody who loves Hulkbuster. And if you're trying to decide on this Build-A-Figure, you're not too interested in the wave, but you want the Build-A-Figure, I would actually say to go ahead and do it. I would recommend you to buy the entire wave just for the Build-A-Figure. That's how much I'm actually really enjoying this figure. It's one of those figures that's completely unique. There's nothing like it, and I can't imagine they'll make anything quite like it for at least years to come. So overall, would highly recommend this baby, and it's just absolutely fantastic. Articulation is wonderful. Probably the best articulated Hulkbuster we're going to get from just about any company. I know like Play Arts is making one that might be more articulated. The Hot Toys one definitely won't be more articulated. And then, any of the other regular toy lines that have made him are definitely not as articulated as this. So probably one, if not possibly the most articulated Hulkbuster figure we're going to get. So definitely highly recommended by me, and thanks so much for watching.